Hey, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch this, is watching, or ever will watch, but hi anyway, in case you are. My friends convinced me to start a YouTube channel. I guess I'll just start talking and whatever comes out, and if you rock with it, cool. If not, I guess that's fine too. You don't have to continue to watch. Let's see. So we're in a pandemic right now, and I'm in Los Angeles County, so we are expected to be on restrictions, continued restrictions through July. So I moved, so I'm originally from the Midwest. I lived in Korea for 2 years. After 2 years, I moved to Minnesota to be with my parents. I'm originally from Missouri, but I was with them in Minnesota because that's where they live. I know it's a little confusing. But I was with them for a few months before I moved to California to go to graduate school. And so I've been living in LA County for like 4.5 years before I resigned from my position. I am a registered associate marriage and family therapist. I was working in community mental health. I really just needed a break from LA, from the transition. I hadn't really been home for real. So I was super drained, needed to regroup. And so I went home for the holidays in December, moved back to LA County, Inglewood. Shout out to Inglewood. I moved to Inglewood in like the last 2 days of January, started February 1st practically, and then my roommate and I had gotten all moved in, and then as soon as like the week after we got our last bit of, not our last, we have a chair that came later, but everything had been furnished. We got our rug, and then the next week LA went into lockdown, and the pandemic was in full mode. So transitioning back, this pandemic, I think the timing was good. It wasn't terrible. I guess as good as you can get with the pandemic for me personally. Unfortunately, I was still in the interviewing process for job searching and all of that, and application process. So the money that I saved for a vehicle, because I didn't have a car, has gone toward maintaining during this pandemic. I try to stay positive, because being negative right now isn't really going to help. So kind of in self-preservation mode. But I do see a silver lining. I do see the positive in it, that, I have a roof over my head. Getting this place was a blessing. It was under our budget. We got all the things that we had prayed for, that we had hoped for, and getting an apartment. I love Inglewood. I wish I could explore it more. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of creates a barrier to that. But yeah, just kind of coping. I know a lot of people have been putting out there that they are already introverts and germophobes and all this, and they were built for this, and I kind of felt like that in the beginning, because I'm for real germaphobe. When I was working and having to take public transit and all of that, as soon as I would get home, even before that, one of the first things I do when I get inside is, other than taking off my shoes, I don't wear shoes in the house, as long as those are the house rules, but I wash my hands, and I either change clothes or immediately take a shower. But I'm always washing my hands, which is why I'm constantly ashy. I'm very aware of coughs and sneezes, and I do one of those things if people cough and sneeze. So I wasn't a mask wearer necessarily before. I did some in Korea because they were more readily available. But no, I just kind of do the shirt mask. Somebody sneeze, or I'll hold my breath, even when people yawn. So I am kind of a germaphobe, and then I'm a homebody. I don't know if I would say I'm a full-blown introvert, but I am somewhat of a homebody. So And also, I don't have a job, so where am I going to go? The gym was a place that I looked forward to going to every day. Obviously, I can't do that anymore. I'm still trying to do home workouts, but I do miss that human interaction. But I gotta admit, even as somebody who's typically a homebody and a germaphobe, this has been somewhat of a challenge. I think the cleanliness part, like it's exhausting. Like anybody who has anxiety in that way, anyone who has OCD or OCD-like tendencies, even if they're not diagnosed, it's exhausting to try to maintain those patterns and practices. Is one thing if other people aren't doing it, but it's another if other people aren't doing it and like it's regulated, like we're for real in an issue. Before it's like I could be like, okay, Bianca, chill out, you know, it's not like you're gonna get sick and it's gonna be fatal, or what's the likelihood of you getting sick because you didn't, you know, wash the handle or disinfect the knob or something like that. Now it's like, okay, what you've been preparing for this time your whole life, because I've been this way since I was like 3 or 4. Ask my family, but I try to maintain a positive attitude. I think a lot of it has really forced me to be like, okay, this is a reality. It is kind of dangerous to not be clean or to disinfect properly. It is dangerous, but I also know that God has a plan and a purpose, and I trust that. I have faith that that I'm gonna be all right. You know, I go out. I've been going out maybe like once every other week to go to the grocery store. During that time, I'll check the mail or I'll take the recycling out. My roommate usually takes the trash out. She's faster with that than I am. I don't like taking out the trash, so I push stuff down. I wash my hands after. But I stretch that trash bag as long as possible. She, on the other hand, I think she's more like, just get it out. So I don't really have to take out the trash. I just take out the recycling. But anyway, so that's been kind of hard, and even when you go out, it's like, I mean, people are generally very nice, especially the workers at the grocery store. They're very nice. It's just kind of a reality check when you see people with masks and gloves on. I did have one time I was like, okay, I can just stay positive. There was one time a woman, I don't think she had ill intentions, but she's like, I wasn't wearing gloves because I didn't have any. And I wash my hands anyway when I get home. I wash everything, my whole self. I disinfect all of my groceries and all of that. But she kind of, I don't want to say scrutinized me. She kind of got on my case about not having, she was an older woman, got on my case about not having gloves on. And I just kind of looked at her and I had my mask on, so it's not like she could see me smile. But I just kind of looked and just turned away because I didn't know what to say. Like, it's stressful enough. I don't need somebody to, you know, chastising me. And she kind of said she gave a suggestion. Maybe you can get, you know, I usually just get the grocery bags, the little vegetable bags, and put them on my hands. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I wash everything and wash my hands when I get home. I'm pretty clean. She's like, oh, okay. I didn't want to have to explain all of that, but so it's just like little things like that you kind of pick up on. But I mean, it doesn't really bother me now. It didn't really bother me too much after, but it's just kind of like, it can be it's an overwhelming process. There was one time it literally took me from the time I left the house, went to the grocery store and came back, because again, I don't have a car, so I have to walk. The grocery store isn't too far. It's like maybe a 20-minute walk. So from the time, you know, getting ready, leaving the house, going to the store, grocery shopping, and walking back and carrying everything back, disinfecting everything, disinfecting the kitchen, disinfecting everything when I bring into the house, putting everything away, and then re-disinfecting the counter space where the groceries had been. Like I go full-blown disinfect the kitchen, the knobs, the handles on the faucet, the knobs on the oven, the handles on the microwave and the refrigerator. Like I do full-blown. After everything was said and done, it feels good. And then I clean myself. after all of that, it took me, like, I think one time it was from 7 a.m. that I left, and I got back, and I finished everything by 2. I'm not exaggerating. So it's exhausting. Mentally, it's exhausting. Physically, to kind of have to go through that kind of routine. But like I said, I'm grateful that, God's blessed me to have funds for right now to be able to even afford groceries, to be able to do that, to be able to have a roof over my head. I enjoy my room. My room's fully decorated, super cute. Yes, like that. My mama gave me that years back. It's one of my favorite paintings. But yeah, so anyway, so I like to be home, and I have a home to go to, and I enjoy my space. I enjoy this space. I was blessed with great neighbors. There's a lot for me to be grateful for. So, but I will say there are times it's okay to acknowledge that you're not okay when you're not okay. Everything doesn't have to be silver lining, because that's not reality. I think the silver lining helps keep me afloat, but I also think it's important for me to acknowledge where I'm having challenges so that I don't internalize that. So I'm taking this time of respite to acknowledge some of the challenging feelings that I'm having and deal with them. Being left alone with my thoughts. I don't want to say being left alone with them, because I need to make a practice of submitting them to God more. For me, that's the releasing, is releasing that to God, but having time to be with my thoughts. And not all of my thoughts are good. And so exploring, why are my thoughts not good? Where did that thought come from? What lies have I been allowing to enter into myself to say I'm not good enough, or whatever it is, and getting rid of those. There's a scripture, I can't remember where it is, but it says, take every thought captive, right? And so I'm making a practice of taking every thought captive, have control over that, and then submitting it before God. I try to break away from the news and from, I'm not on social media like that, but sometimes I have to break away, because I start getting in my feelings like, man, what am I doing with my life? And it's not like I haven't been doing anything. I've been getting into more reading, different people's narratives. I've been trying to brush up on my Spanish, practicing my guitar and doing some singing, working on some creative stuff. I haven't journaled before. I hadn't journaled for like maybe 4 years. Since I moved to LA, I hadn't journaled in that time. So I'm getting back into some writing and documenting, spending time with God, having more intentional quiet time with God, and being more consistent in that to build myself spiritually. I do have to admit, as a part of the journaling process, I realized, like, I think it was last year, maybe a couple of years ago, I would start writing down, write the vision, make it plain. I have written down, like, a list. I think it was a couple of years ago. It's like every year I do a new list, things that I hope to achieve, or thoughts or dreams that I have, and some of them change a little bit, but I remember when I was like, man, this is a lot. But then I went about my business, because I had a job, like I had other things, focuses. I had other things that I was focusing on. But now, like, I think about all of the things that I want to accomplish. And to be honest with you guys, I'm overwhelmed by my own dreams. I don't know if anyone's ever felt that way, where you look at your dreams and you feel overwhelmed. You see those quotes where it's like, if you look at your dreams and you don't get scared, you're not dreaming big enough. Y'all, I have always dreamed big, but I never created a timeline for my dreams. And I feel like I'm kind of creating. So I turned 30 last year, and I'll be 30, just to let you know, I'll be 30 until further notice because of this pandemic. Don't get it twisted. You do not age when there is a worldwide pandemic. Okay, so I'll be 30 until further notice, just so you know. But I think ever since I turned 30, I started thinking, like, and a similar thing happened when I turned 25. It's like those landmark years. I started thinking, like, okay, where I am right now, where I wanted to be. I didn't necessarily have a timeline, but then I started thinking, for some reason in my mind, I'm like, I'm running out of time. Am I running out of time? 'Cause, God's timing is not, mine, and that's okay, and things still work out the way they're supposed to, but I do kind of have a sense of like, there's a lot that I want to do and a lot that I want to get done. And I remember just like in the past couple of weeks, I think there have been times where I wake up or before I go to bed and I'll get this like really sad, start to feel really sad. Like there's so much, I feel overwhelmed by how much I want to do and I want to accomplish and the dreams and goals, that I have. And I look and I'm like, but when am I going to do that though? When am I going to do that? What are the resources that I have right now? I don't even have a job. How can I even attain this? I think about it, I was like, Bianca, what are you doing to accomplish it? What are you even doing to build yourself? And I'm like, okay, so I've been working on, I don't even know what I'm talented in anymore. Like I've been working on Spanish, working on, writing, working on music, singing, playing my guitar, and all of these things that I exercise. I don't know, that's for health, but you know what I mean, like making sure I stay fit and strong. And like for me, that's not necessarily an aesthetics thing. It's not necessarily, I mean, it is a health thing, but it's also, okay, I need to make sure that whatever comes my way, that I'll be fit enough to handle, different barriers, and that my health's right in case of a pandemic. Even that though is like healthy people are still getting sick. So it's just kind of like I have to be careful because certain thoughts and certain lies start to creep up to say, are you even good? Are you even good at that? Can you really sing for real? I don't think I'm awesome. I actually don't really like my voice for real. I like my voice when I'm playing and I think I'm getting it, but I started recording it and I listened to it and I said, oh, this sounds different than how I heard it by myself. I know I'm not a genius guitar player. It's not like it's something that I learned my whole life or that I caught on really, really fast. It's just like something that I started doing for fun, watched a few YouTube videos, that kind of thing. It's like, I don't even know what I'm good at anymore. And then I started thinking, like, have I been mediocre my entire life? No. I know there are certain things that I'm good at. I just don't know if I have a platform for it. Like, okay, God, how can I, one, have a platform, two, have support and building and sculpting and improving and that and growing when I don't know anyone here. All these things, I start thinking about all the reasons why not. And that starts to get in the way of my pursuit of those things. And I think that's when I start to feel overwhelmed, is when I start thinking about all the reasons why not, why I wouldn't be able to do it. Instead of looking at, okay, what do I have that I can use? I'm living between two realities here. I mean, I just feel like I have all of these tools in my tool belt, but they're not sharpened. And I feel like I don't know how to sharpen them well, and I don't have someone teaching me how to sharpen them. And all of these thoughts, they just seem like an accumulation of excuses. And I hate that because I feel like I do have something to offer the world. I do have something to invest in the kingdom. I do feel like I have gifts, and I don't know if I would call it a fear, but one of my greatest concerns is that I get to the end of my life and I look back and I say, man, I could have done all of these things. Or I start to think, I'll get before the throne of God and I'm like, I had so many gifts unused that you gave me. That is terrifying. For me to go before God and be like, you gave me all these gifts and I didn't use them, and I didn't think much of them. And then that's my concern. Like, it's like two issues. On one hand, what if I'm not good enough? On the other hand, what if I took what I had and took it for granted and didn't use it properly? I think that one's worse than me trying, but I think it's also a matter of having a fear of failure, of trying and not succeeding, trying and like having shame for not being good enough, that I would have the audacity to think that I could be successful in this. Are you kidding me? I don't think what I'm saying is very encouraging, but maybe someone can relate to it. I do want to say though, you know, there's a passage in the Bible. I can't remember it. I want to say Samuel. I don't remember. You guys, I'm really bad with lyrics, and I need to do better at memorizing verses and where things are in the Bible. But it's in there. It's in the Old Testament with Elijah or Elisha, one of them prophets. Oh Lord, I don't want to get it wrong. Actually, you know what? Let me. So I journaled it, and it is from. There we go. So neither Samuel nor Isaiah. It's from 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 4. And it was Elisha, not Elijah. Oh, I got that messed up all the way, y'all. But it was 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1 through 7. I wrote down, Elisha told the widow to see what she had in the house. Elisha told the widow to see what she had in the house, to get the supplies she didn't have from her neighbors, and use what she had. She got by herself with her sons who were helping her. And God blessed her to have more than enough. One of the messages that I wrote down that I got from that is that the widow quarantined herself to focus on what was told to her to do to help her out of the situation. But she shut herself in with those whom she trusted and who were helping her in her obedience. Her neighbors didn't know what she was doing. Everybody don't need to know your business, what I wrote down, or what you're doing in your quarantine. Focus on what God told you to do. I guess basically what I'm saying is that, you know, I can allow myself to be in a space where I continue to focus on what I don't have, what resources I don't have, and allow myself to allow those thoughts to distract me from what I actually do have. Or I can take those thoughts captive, submit them before God, and ask God to show me what it is that I do have that I can use to invest in His kingdom and to glorify Him with the gifts that He's given me. Because God forbid I miss my purpose. I don't want to miss my purpose. So I don't know. That's all I have to say for today. Don't miss your purpose. Find out what you do have. If you're watching this, you probably have something because you either have a phone, or you have access to a phone, or you have access to a computer. If you're in a place where you don't have a lot of people supporting you, or you don't have anybody supporting you, it seems like you have, most people are against you, are intentionally trying to hinder you. You know what? A lot of times that's probably because they see greatness in you, and they see potential in you, and they're trying to stop it. They're jealous of it. Be careful what you allow to be a barrier to you. Don't allow what other people say to keep you from pursuing what your purpose is. And that may sound cliche, but it's true. If God is for you, God is giving you purpose, which He has. God has instilled in you gifts, which He has. So if God is for you, it don't matter if the world is against you. Nothing's going to stop what God has already preordained, or what God has already set to happen. If you think the world against you is greater than God, then you think very little of God. And I say that to myself as well. God is the community for you. Father, Son, and Spirit. They are on your side. God is on your side. Let that be your testimony, that God has been on your side. All right. I didn't mean to preach today, but God is good. And I will leave it at that. Have a beautiful and blessed week.